7 animals sitting silent in a space smaller than your spare closet, each one out-earning a backyard hen per critter, and every single one skips the exact reason cities ban chickens in the first place. Here is the secret the chicken crowd never says out loud. Most cities that ban chickens are not banning the hen, they are banning the rooster, the 5 in the morning crow that makes the whole street want you dead. The hen is quiet. Every animal on this list is quieter. So the rooster ban that stops everybody else does not touch you. And there is one more thing I built in to the very end of this countdown, the thing that ties all 7 together into a single quiet money system that runs on almost no space, no crowing, and no permission from your neighbors. I name it at number 1, so stay with me because the animals come first and the system is the payoff. Here is the standard I hold myself to, and it is harder than anyone else on this topic. Every price I say is a real listing you can pull up right now, a real breeder, a real marketplace, a real going rate, not a number I made up to make you feel good. We count down from number 7, the quietest of all, and the one I treat as your training animal, up to number 1, the highest ceiling on the list and the one I would start tomorrow. For each one, you get the real startup cost, the monthly income, the exact places you sell it, and the one legal detail that is actually a hidden edge in your favor. Let us get into it. Number 7. Button Quail. Picture a bird the size of a sparrow living in a bin on a shelf, while rare color morph breeding pairs and hatching egg lots move to hobbyists who cannot get enough of them. Real money off a bird that fits in your hand. Also called the Chinese painted quail, this is the truly apartment silent bird, the one you could keep in a one-bedroom and your neighbor would never know. They are tiny, 1 to 4 ounces, smaller than a sparrow. The females are nearly silent, and the males make a soft cooing, wild bird call, nothing like a rooster. You were told a bird means noise, a coop, and a fight with the city. This bird is the opposite of all 3. Frugal startup is $60 to $120. Hatching eggs, a dozen to 2 dozen, run $15 to $30 from a place like buttonquaileggs.com. A small bin or an old aquarium as a cage is $30 to $60, and a cheap feeder and waterer is about $15. The honest beginner income is $10 to $40 a month, and your first dollars land once your first hatch of eggs and pairs is ready to move. That margin is real because feed costs almost nothing, so nearly every dollar in is yours. Now where you actually sell them. The eating egg market is thin. The eggs are bumblebee-sized, so the real money is hatching eggs in lots of 12 to 15 and live breeding pairs. 2 buyer channels. First, Etsy and eBay for hatching eggs, plus the Button Quail Facebook groups and the r/quail crowd where the rare color morphs move, and your floor is a plain egg lot, your middle a started pair, your premium a rare color morph breeding pair sold straight to a collector hunting that morph. Second, local exotic pet and aviary hobbyists wanting a started pair. One breeder scene absorbs only so many morphs a month, so when your local groups go quiet, you jump to the next state's Facebook group and ship. And the legal detail is quietly working for you. Button quail are not classified as poultry or game bird the way bigger quail are. They count as a cage or aviary bird, so they usually slip right past the poultry zoning that catches chickens. That is a loophole, not a landmine. Ship live birds or hatching eggs across a state line, and you can trip NPIP certification and pylorium typhoid testing. But once you hold that certificate, you ship nationwide while your competition stays local. Master hatching, brooding, and shipping here on the cheapest bird there is before you scale. And the next one is not even a bird. It makes 0 sound, sells into a market almost nobody thinks about, And it is one of the cheapest things you can start on this entire list. Number 6. Silkworms. Yes, a worm on a list about beating chickens. Stay with me, because a plain deli cup of these on a shelf feeds a premium market reptile keepers pay a real premium into. Silkworms, Bombyx mori, are the larvae of the silk moth, and the reptile world treats them as the good stuff, the feeder you give your animal when you want it eating the best. They sit in a deli cup and ask for nothing but their food. You think livestock needs land, feed, and cleanup. This one needs a shelf and a bag of chow, and it still pays. Startup is $30 to $70, one of the cheapest on the list. Silkworm eggs or a starter kit run $15 to $40 from Mulberry Farms, Coastal Silkworms, or Oregon Silkworms, plus deli cups and a bag of chow. The honest beginner income is $20 to $70 a month once your cultures cycle, and your first dollars come after the first few weeks once the worms grow out. The margin is the whole point because the input is a bag of chow and a stack of cups, so what keepers pay is almost all profit. Now the price ladder and buyers. You sell roughly $10 to $15 per 25 to 50 small worms shipped, and around $16 per 25 high-end cocoons. You price above crickets because of top-tier nutrition, high calcium, B vitamins, and protein, so keepers pay the premium without blinking. 2 channels. First, reptile and amphibian keepers through Morph Market, Backwater Reptiles, and reptile Facebook groups. Second, bearded dragon and chameleon owners, because silkworms are the premium gut-load feeder for exactly those animals, and that is your highest margin lane, a standing weekly order from an owner who feeds them every week. Floor is a small worm lot, middle a bulk order, premium those cocoons and the repeat subscription. One reptile group only buys so much, so when it slows, you list into the next regional group, because reptile keepers are everywhere. And the legal detail is almost entirely in your favor. For interstate movement of Bombyx mori in the continental U.S., there is no PPQ permit required. APHIS does not make you jump through that hoop, so you ship across state lines freely. The one thing that kills a silkworm operation is not the law, it is running out of chow. Because silkworms eat exactly one thing, fresh mulberry leaves or commercial silkworm chow. So stock your chow before you need it, and you never lose a colony. 2 small notes. Selling them labeled as feed can, at scale, trip your state's commercial feed registration. And Hawaii blocks the import entirely. A premium, silent stream. Just keep the chow stocked. The next one is a bird people literally picture on a city sidewalk, and high-end restaurants pay real money for it. Number 5. King Pigeons, raised for squab. Picture dressed young pigeon leaving your loft for a restaurant kitchen at $6 to $12 a bird, direct, no middleman. The white king is a big, meaty domestic breed, and squab, just young pigeon, is a delicacy high-end restaurants pay real money for. A pigeon coos. It does not crow. There is no rooster moment. I know, half of you picture birds on a sidewalk, but this is the classic, urban legal, no rooster bird people have raised in cities for a century, precisely because the neighbors never complain. That century-long track record is your proof you can do it exactly where you live. Startup is $250 to $450. A sexed breeding pair of white kings runs $100 to $200 per bird from pigeonfarms.com or Stromberg's. The loft is cheap and do-it-yourself, and feed cost is low. The honest beginner income is $0 to $60 a month, and your first dollars land once a pair is producing squab. A single pair throws up to about 16 squab a year. Each squab costs roughly $1 to raise and sells for about $8 direct, so the margin per bird is real, and a few pairs is a small handful of dollars a month. This is not your top earner. It is your quiet anchor, the century-proven city-legal bird that holds the corner of your setup while the earners around it do the heavy lifting. And if you ever scale it, the restaurant squab money is real. It just wants hundreds of breeding pairs. Now, buyers. And the latter. First, ethnic and high-end restaurants and farmers markets, where dressed or frozen squab sells direct for $6 to $12. And that direct-to-chef relationship is your premium, highest margin channel. One standing restaurant order beats any wholesale route. Second, other breeders buying utility king stock, though that pays only a few dollars a bird, so that is your floor. One restaurant takes only so many squab a month, so you line up a second and third kitchen, and city restaurants are dense. And the legal detail is clean. Domestic pigeons are unregulated federally, not protected migratory birds, so that whole layer of trouble simply does not apply. Slaughter on your own property to sell the meat triggers your state's poultry processing rules, the 1,000-bird exemption framework, and cottage or meat handler licensing. And some cities cap loft size through zoning, so you sell live to breeders until those pieces are lined up. The next one needs no yard at all, just a glass tank on a shelf, and it is the pick for people who do not even have a backyard. Number 4. Aquarium snails, specifically nerite snails and ramhorn snails. Picture a single glass tank on a shelf in an apartment, quietly turning out snails the aquarium hobby buys all day for algae cleanup and as feeders. This is the no noise, no land, indoor option for people who have an apartment and not a yard and still want a quiet little earner. It replaces a noisy bird with a glass tank that makes no sound. Nerites are the champion algae cleaners of the aquarium hobby, and colored ramhorns are a small but real collector market. If your whole obstacle has been that you have no yard, this one erases it completely. Startup is $40 to $90, a 10-gallon tank with a sponge filter and a light is about $60, and the starter snails are cheap. The honest beginner income is $5 to $40 a month running one tank, and your first dollars come once your breedable colony starts producing. And here is what saves your margin, because beginners get burned right here. Nerites do not breed in freshwater, so they never multiply in a normal tank, and if that is all you stock, you keep rebuying. So the actual breedable cash product is the colored ramshorn, the plantar bellamorphs, plus bladder and pond snails as feeders, because those breed freely in plain freshwater and cost you nothing to reproduce. That is your engine. Now the price ladder and buyers. You sell roughly $6.99 per 10 pest or feeder ramshorns, the going rate at Windy City Aquariums. Nerites retail around $3 to $5 each, and the colored ramshorns sell for a bit more. So your floor is a feeder ramshorn lot, your middle nerites for cleanup, your premium a nice colored ramshorn morph to a collector. 2 channels. First, r/aquaswap and local aquarium Facebook groups, where people want them for algae cleanup and as feeders for assassin snails and puffers which eat snails, and that group scene is your best margin. Second, local fish stores, which take them but pay almost nothing, so that is your overflow, not your main line. One aquarium group absorbs only so many a month, so when it slows, you list into the next city swap group. And the legal detail, handled right, keeps you clear. The common plantar ramshorns and the nerites are fine in most states. Never touch the banned giants, the apple snail, the Pomacea group, and the Colombian ramshorn, which is Marisa, both flagged under USDA APHIS. Maine bans virtually all freshwater invertebrates, permit only. Hawaii blocks them too, and you never release any aquarium snail outside ever, because that is how invasions start. Stick to the common breedable ones and you are clear in most of the country. Now the list changes gear, because the next 3 are the real earners, and the first of them is a duck that does not quack. Number 3. Muscovy Ducks. Picture a 10-bird flock in a converted shed grossing around $3,000 a year. Eggs bakers fight for, and meat that dresses out big, all from a duck that does not quack. Now we hit the real earners. Every other duck quacks loudly, and a flock of quacking ducks gets you reported just like a rooster. The Muscovy does not quack. It hisses, a soft, breathy hiss, far quieter than a chicken or any other duck. And it is dual purpose. Eggs bigger and richer than a hen's, prized by bakers, plus a leaner meat, and a single drake dresses out big. The one duck that dodges the noise complaint is also the one that pays, and that is your opening. This is the first entry where the ceiling gets genuinely interesting. A 10-bird flock can gross around $3,000 a year, eggs at $6 to $12 a dozen, plus dressed meat at $10 to $20 a pound, and the drakes dress out around 8.5 pounds each. Take out roughly $775 a year in feed, and you net about $2,265 once the flock is mature. Startup, fully built backyard is under about $1,500 and much less if you are frugal. Ducklings run $7 to $15 each from a breeder like Sherlock Acres. Housing is the big variable. A do-it-yourself shed or hoop setup runs $500 to $2,000, or you convert a shed you already have for almost nothing, which is how you crush your startup. Your first real dollars come in year one at tens to low hundreds of dollars a month while the flock grows into that ceiling. Now, buyers and the ladder. First, direct egg customers and bakers, because duck eggs are prized for baking. Through farmers markets and Facebook, and a standing baker order is your premium, highest margin channel because bakers reorder every week. Second, direct meat and duckling sales under the on-farm poultry exemption. The floor, a straight duckling sale. The middle, dressed meat by the pound. One farmer's market absorbs only so many eggs a week, so you add a second market and a couple of standing baker accounts. And the legal detail actually protects your operation. The Muscovy is covered by the Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Control Order, 50 CFR 21.25, makes it illegal to release them, which means you simply never release a bird. You sell it, and that keeps you clean. In Florida specifically, they are Class 3 wildlife, so you need a permit to possess them for sale or exhibition, though not to keep as pets. And Florida actively manages them as invasive, so Florida sellers get that permit, and the rest of the country does not have that layer. Selling the meat triggers your state's poultry processing rules, so you sell eggs and live ducklings while you line up processing. That 3,000 ceiling lands as the flock matures, and this is where the list truly starts to beat a chicken. The next one is the animal serious homesteaders reach for the second they get serious, and it makes no vocal sound at all. Number 2. Meat rabbits. Picture a small stack of cages in the corner of a yard, silent, turning out hundreds of dollars a year while the neighbors never hear a thing. This is the classic chicken beater, the one homesteaders reach for when they get serious. Rabbits make no vocal noise at all, so the noise problem simply does not exist. And they are fast, butcher weight in about 12 weeks, and a small backyard setup can produce hundreds a year. Per animal, they out-earn a hen handily in near total silence. If your fear has been a neighbor complaint, this animal removes it entirely because there is no sound to complain about. Quick running total before the numbers because we are past the halfway line. Stack what we have already built, the button quail, the silkworms, the pigeons, the snails, and the Muscovy flock, and that quiet setup is already grossing well into the thousands a year combined. Every dollar silent and neighbor-proof, and the two biggest earners are still ahead. So the rabbit numbers. Startup is under $500. A breeding trio, 1 buck and 2 does, runs $75 to $300, and cages run $50 to $150 each. Monthly feed is $45 to $125, with a 50-pound bag of pellets at $15 to $25. Your first dollars come fast because a single litter of 6 nets you about $65. 2 sold as breeders at $30 each, and the rest as fryers at around $15. Across a year, each doe brings in roughly $125 to $190, so a beginner running 2 or 3 does is looking at $30 to $90 a month in year 1, climbing from there. Now the price ladder and buyers. Live rabbits sell for $20 to $100 depending on breeders versus pets. Meat retails at $6 to $12 a pound carcass, and a processor only pays $1 to $2.50 a pound live, so direct sales are where the money is. First, direct to homesteaders and pet owners, breeding stock and pet kits through Facebook and Craigslist. Your best margin by far, a breeding pair straight to a homesteader. Second, restaurants, farmers markets, and local processors for the meat. Floor a fryer, middle a pet kit, premium proven breeding stock. One local homestead scene absorbs only so many kits a month, so you post into the next county's Facebook group and the buyers show up. And the legal detail debunks a myth and hands you an edge. Rabbits sold for food or fiber are exempt from the USDA Animal Welfare Act, and direct sales to pet owners are exempt too, no matter how many you sell. You only need a USDA Animal Welfare Act license if you wholesale to pet stores or exhibitors and gross more than $500 a year. And most backyard breeders never cross that line, so you sell hard, direct, all year, license-free. The one piece to handle is meat for human consumption, which goes through state-inspected or custom-exempt processing depending on your state. So you sell live breeding stock and pets while you sort processing. Now the number one, the one I would start tomorrow, the highest ceiling on the list, and the one that quietly ties every other animal together into a single system. Number 1. Honeybees. Picture 2 hives in the corner of a yard, a footprint of a couple of square feet, and local raw honey selling to your own neighbors at $8 to $15 a pound, a premium store honey cannot touch. This is the one I would start tomorrow, and it is number 1 because it checks every box better than anything else. It is the quietest income there is, just a gentle hum from a box in the corner of your yard, 0 land, and the cleanest won't annoy the neighbors pick on the list. And the ceiling is the highest here by a wide margin because honey, wax, and bees themselves all sell. Everything you were told to fear about livestock, space, noise, complaints, this animal answers all of it, and it pays the best while doing it. Startup is about $500 to $800 for one hive in year 1. Hive bodies run around $270, a package or a nook of bees is $125 to $250, and a suit and tools are about $200. 2 hives, which everyone recommends, roughly doubles that. Your first real honey dollars come after year 1, because that first year the colony is building comb and storing honey to survive winter, so you take none the first season, and that is normal. After that, a healthy hive yields around 50 pounds of honey a year. Now the price ladder, because this is where bees crush everything else. Wholesale honey is only about $2.96 a pound. That is your floor, and you skip it. Direct to consumer, local raw honey often goes for $8 to $15 a pound, and that is your premium, highest margin channel by a mile. So 2 mature hives selling direct can bring in roughly $300 to $900 a season in honey plus wax and nooks on top. 2 channels. First, direct local raw honey buyers, farmers markets, and your own neighbors who pay a huge premium for genuinely local raw honey. And your neighbors are the highest margin buyers you will ever have. They walk to your door. Second, wax and lip balm crafters who buy your beeswax, plus selling nooks and splits to new beekeepers every spring, a second income stream off the same hives. One farmer's market moves only so many jars, so you add a second and let neighbor word of mouth do the rest. And with real local honey, it always does. And the legal detail is simple and cheap. There is no federal law on keeping bees, but most states require you to register your hives with the State Department of Agriculture. Cheap, $5 to $15, part of a disease inspection program. Ohio is $10 a year. California is a county registration. Local zoning sets how many hives you can have and the setback distances. Some places require 600 feet of clearance at 3 or more hives. And your HOA covenants can ban beekeeping outright, unless your state has a right to beekeep or right to farm law that overrides the HOA, which Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and Virginia do have. So in those states, your HOA cannot stop you. Register before you buy bees, not after. And here is the system I promised at the top. Every one of these runs on almost no space and makes almost no sound, and they feed each other. The bees give you wax and honey. The rabbits and ducks give you the confidence and the direct sale buyer list. The quail and silkworms teach you shipping and repeat orders on cheap stock. And the pigeon holds the quiet, city-legal corner. Stack a few in one small footprint, and you have a silent, neighbor-proof income machine, and the bees are the crown of it. Past that first season, with 2 or more hives, this is the highest ceiling, lowest noise, lowest land earner on the list, and the buyers come to you. That is why it is number 1. So step back and look at the pattern, because now you can see the whole machine. Every animal here beats a backyard chicken on the 2 things that actually stop people: noise and per animal income. The chicken ban in most cities is really a rooster ban, and every one of these 7 sidesteps it completely. So how do you use this list? Build an order of how quiet your situation needs to be and how much space you have. In an apartment with thin walls, your real picks are the silent ones, silkworms and aquarium snails, plus the near-silent button quail. With a small yard and a real appetite for income, rabbits and bees are your 2 strongest picks, the highest earners that still keep the peace. The ducks sit in the middle, real income with real housing and that federal legal wrapper you keep clean by never releasing a bird. And the pigeon is your quiet, century-proven, city-legal anchor. Here is the one honest line to carry, said once, straight. This is a stack you build over months, not a switch you flip on Tuesday. You start near 0 for the first stretch while colonies and flocks and hives build, then it climbs, tens into low hundreds a month per animal, higher as you scale and lock in your repeat buyers, and the combined total across a few of these over a full year is real money that lands quietly in your bank while your neighbors never hear a thing. That is the whole system. A free starter guide in the description lays out the noise level, startup cost, real buyers, and exact legal points for all 7 so you can pick your first animal today. So here is your first move, and make it this week, not someday. If you have a yard, start with 2 hives of bees or a breeding trio of meat rabbits, both under $500 to start, both dead silent, both scaling into hundreds a year. If you are in an apartment, start with silkworms this week, under $70, a shelf and a bag of chow, first dollars in weeks. Pick one, order it, and you are in the game. And do this for me, because I will build you a path. Drop a comment and tell me exactly what space you are working with. A shelf, a closet, a balcony, a small yard, an acre, whatever it is, and I will point you to the animal that fits it and the exact first buyer to chase. The more specific you are about your space, the more specific I get back. If the real math and the real buyers helped you, that is the whole reason this channel exists. And next video, I take the honeybee, the number 1 here, and go deep on the real first-year hive build, the real money in year 2, and the beginner mistakes that quietly kill a colony before it pays you